Hi everyone, and welcome to this event by Champaka Bookstore about the book Cat People, published by Simon and Schuster and edited by Devapriya Roy. We have with us here today a wonderful panel of people, including the editor and contributors who have written short stories, essays, and illustrated pieces for the book. Here's a little bit about our speakers today. Priya Sebastian feeds cats and illustrates stories. Aditi Sriram teaches writing at Ashoka University. Her first book is called Beyond the Boulevards, a short biography of Pondicherry, and it's published by Aleph. Vangmai Parakala is a culture writer at Mint Lounge. Anila Babar aspires to attain work-life balance between picking up after her cats and writing on popular culture, gender, and the religio-military nexus in South Asia. Varun Grover is a screenwriter, a national award-winning lyricist, a stand-up comedian, and a short story writer based in Mumbai. And Devapriya Roy is a Delhi-based author. They're in conversation with Shrabonti, a writer and editor at Mint, and proud cat mommy to the world's laziest cat, Leo. Here's a little bit about Champaka. Champaka is an independent women-run bookstore, children's library, and cafe. We bring diverse stories and perspectives for our readers and in our children's library through our books and events. We have an online store, www.champaka.in, where you can find all the books on our shelves and get yourself a copy of Cat People. Thank you all very much for being here today, and over to you.
Hi everyone. Cat lovers, cat haters, cat indifferent people, but people who have contributed to a book about cats. And we are talking about cat people today. It's a book of essays, short stories, fiction, short notes, memoir. Everything has to do a little bit with cats, and and unlike what, when I first heard about this book, I was reminded of that short story in the New Yorker from a couple of years ago, which became really famous and went viral. Cat Person, and I was very happy to see that unlike that story, which actually didn't feature any cats, this book has a lot of cats and a lot of people, and people who love cats. Some are indifferent to cats. Some are making their first forays into friendships with cats. Some are wondering, what the big deal is about cats. Some have moved with their cats across cities, and they have memories associated with each city, and living in that city and the cats of that city. And it's just such a fantastic glimpse into the lives of people and their cats. And even if it's not their cats, I mean, just how cats sort of inveigle their ways into our lives and into our minds and hearts. So, I'll just start this discussion by going around, and having like a short chat with each of you, and then we throw it open and we can just talk about cats. So I'll start with Devapriya. Actually, in your introduction to the book, Devapriya, you write that you've never really owned a cat, but a human cat, of
Hmm.
course, yes.
Hmm.
But how did this book come about? Like, why this book, and why did you, why you for the editor
Right,
or the editor?
right. It's one of those weird things. Uh, so as I write in the introduction, how I thought about cats was my friend Janice and I. My friend Janice Parriott, the writer. She's a great cat person, and she and I would have a very long commute together, during which we would only speak about her cat, Vincent. And then somewhere down the line, I acquired a human cat, a student who came and said that I am your cat. Why? Because I want access to your books, and since you're too poor to adopt me, I think I'll just be your cat. So having acquired the human cat, as you can see, I was competing with Janice. I felt this great surge of excitement, and I thought, hi Priya.
Hi, hi, hi.
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 Okay, you've already been introduced in absentia, so we've jumped right in. Um, so, oh yeah, I'm now rambling. But I thought that there should be a book about people's cats so I could write about my human cat. Okay, so it was a very specific writerly obsession. And somewhere down the line, that book was not there. And somehow by the mysteries of the universe, or probably because I love cat people and I find cat people so interesting, I became this conduit of cattishness, bringing them all
Right.
together. But like, I believe, good editors are basically backstage people. They sort of take a step back and allow their writers to speak. So yeah.
Yeah. Like we were saying yesterday, I mean, just like it doesn't, like cats don't make sense, right? I mean, why do we love cats? I mean, they don't really give back in any way. They are not, like dogs. But just that, our love for cats doesn't really make sense if you think about it. Probably very fittingly, this book is edited by you then.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's one of those great mysteries.
Exactly. So okay, moving on. Aditi, I was really fascinated by your short story, and and how you kind of tied. It's a very mystical story. I mean, would you like to sort of tell us a little bit about the story itself and how it came to you? And are you a cat person, or like your protagonist, are you also somebody who's never really lived with cats?
So I'm the second. I have never lived with cats. Of course, I know people who have cats. And Devapriya had been telling me about this collection for many months, and at various stages of its sort of status and her panic associated with its status. I have enough writers. I don't have enough writers. We're moving along. Things have stalled. COVID. I have COVID. Someone has COVID. It just kept evolving. But the still her excitement and passion for the cats and for the things she was collecting was very strong. And she kept saying,
Hmm.
"Why don't you say write something?" And I said, "What do I say about cats?" She was like, "Well, you're a writer. That's kind of your headache. You figure it out."
Hmm.
Um, and so what I thought I would do, to your point, Shravanti, was to use the cats in a way in which they would make sense to me because I
Hmm.
am not a cat owner and I interact with dogs much more than cats for reasons even I don't know, I suppose. But because cats are so elusive and they are so strange, and each of you has like your own. I mean, those of you who are showing us your cats and who have written about your own cats. Um, and the first half of the collection does a great job of just showcasing, right, the many
Right.
shades or rainbow colors of cat pet
Ownership.
relationship. But yeah, exactly, cat ownership. So I said fine, so mine will make kind of even less sense, and yet they will be the reason for the story to exist. I want them to kind of
Right.
they're my main character, she's sort of confused and she's wondering what to do. She needs direction in life,
Right.
both professionally but also in a kind of day-to-day way, just getting through that day for various reasons. And it's the cats that end up. I mean, she encounters um, cats in the place where she's staying for about a week, and each cat has a very clear purpose, although it's not fully stated in the book and or in the story. And by the end of the story, hopefully, we understand what these cats were doing. But they show up, they do something or signal something, and then they leave. And there's something very actually very grounding and encouraging about these cats, although she is utterly confused at first. And I thought, since, if you ask me how to describe a cat or what a cat means to me, at one level, I'm utterly confused. Or I don't really have words, I should say. It's not that I'm confused, but I don't know. But at another level, that's a great canvas for writing something. Because if you don't really know, then you can let it be whatever you want. And I think, especially with an animal and someone who's not communicating with you in English, because I know all of you communicate with your cats and they communicate back to you. So I don't want to say that they don't. But if they are just sort of emitting something and you have to be
Right.
fluent or you have to learn that language, that's what the story is trying to do. And
Right.
by the
Right.
end, something has happened, some exchange has happened, which
Yeah.
on page one of the story you are not anticipating. She is not certainly the main character, and I
Yeah.
wasn't sure what I was going to have them do by the end. So it was
Hmm.
fun for that to kind of evolve.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it does come together. Like, and then, sort of the pieces fall into place, and then you see the whole pattern. So yeah, like, and the many shades of cats. I mean,
Yeah.
that I think you've captured it really well.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Moving
Thanks.
on, Anila. Okay, this is like it's not weird for you guys, right? Waiting to see whose name sort of I land on next. It's completely
This reminds
random.
me of, our like vivas back at school. Like you're always nervous who the examiner will pick up
Yeah.
on, and I'm still
Yeah, I'm like
revising.
all relaxed. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's probably not a great way of doing this, but like, okay, what the hell? So, Anila, I really like the way you've brought politics and cats together. Like, I was like, wouldn't have thought that, those two things could come together. But the way you've kind of associated the Pakistani politics specifically, and the lives of the cats that you have known around there in Pakistan, and how you came to name one of your cats after Benazir Bhutto, and because you found her on the day that Benazir Bhutto died, right?
Passed away,
And right, and then would you like to tell us a little bit about your current cats, 14 and 15
No, they're
August?
actually no. A friend had suggested that we name them
Ah,
for.
right. Okay, okay.
So they're
Yeah, and
Jude. Arhan, you may unmute yourself. So Arhan, my boy, named him Jude because he's a big fan of the Beatles,
right.
and I named
So
the
cute.
other
Yeah.
one Bibi Gul. Because I'm Pashto speaking, and amongst Pashtun families, most Mossis like Khalas are called Bibi Gul.
Right.
And Billy Sher ki khala hoti hai, like we have this saying. So, but then we discovered that Bibi Gul is actually a male cat. But then that is also something I've carried on, like even in Pakistan, because our teachers would skip reproductive lessons in biology. So we'd be very challenged when it comes to identifying men and women. So I had named him Chica, and then we realized he
Right.
was Chico. So that's okay.
Right.
I feel like my cats are. I think I'm a habitual migrant, right? So it's about Hijr and Firak. So even when I'm not with cats, I am thinking of cats. So have I answered your question about how I've? And I think if you're a cat person, cats are the most political person I've ever, entity I've ever seen. So it
Really?
was very easy. Well, yes.
Would you
I
care
think
to elaborate on that?
we are still struggling. They've already figured it out, right?
Yeah.
So I'm still like, we are struggling with the meaning of the universe, about how to network. We are nervous of antagonizing people. We are people pleasers.
Yeah.
Cats are like I should say, okay, they're very, okay, Judas here. They're very, like, I shouldn't say they're very benign dictators, but I feel they know it. And yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, they know their place in the world. And they love power. I think they are extremely alert to power dynamics within their own groups and with humans.
Jude. So
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, there you go, hogging the spotlight. Okay, we'll come back and okay, landing on Varun. Varun, I really liked about another part that you mentioned about the sort of relationship between humans, between cats and their humans. I think before this, once I mentioned ownership. I think that's a very wrong word actually. You don't own cats, and I think what you said, that the love, the way cats sort of express their love for you. And this one particular line really struck me, that you are not loved by your cat, you are colonized by your cat. And I think that is so appropriate. So I wanted to ask you, like, when you were, I mean, you also are fairly new to this, right? I mean, you have three cats now, but are fairly new to this. Is there anything about being around cats that surprised you, that you didn't expect? That what are some of the things that we hear about cats, but living with one is an entirely different experience. So what are the things that sort of
Yeah,
surprised you?
actually, lots of surprising things. So, to begin with, I never, thought I'll be a cat person. It's almost like, yeah, a drug addict saying I never thought I'll be a drug addict kind of a thing, because until you start doing drugs, you can't really imagine what people talk about. They may say you will see hallucinations, you'll see creatures, you'll see whatever. But the day you actually experience it, you realize, okay, it can't be described. So similarly with cats, I think uh, people had many notions, including, and most of them are negative notions attached to
Mm.
cats, especially in India. Uh, and most of the modern civilized societies, somehow they have this notion that cats are evil, cats are scheming, cats are these kind of very negative PR they
Mm.
have. They have
Mm.
somehow, including, I'm not even counting the superstitions right now, but people
Mm.
actually believe that cats are very scheming, and they will whatever. Even the term which I've used, probably colonized and all, but that is in a more loving way. I wanted to
Yeah.
use that, but the thing is, once you kind of start living with cats, you realize uh, not just that they are not evil, that they are very, I would say, multi-layered creatures. They
Mm.
have so many things to be discovered in their personalities. I've not lived with a dog, so I don't know. I won't compare a cat with a dog. Okay, dogs are more loving. That's what people say. But even
Mm.
then, I'm saying that cats give you so many new things to decode every day. You're
Yeah.
constantly guessing when you're living with a cat. You're constantly guessing what exactly got this cat behaving this way. So, for example, one of our cats, Chenapoda, is sitting right here. And he generally, whenever I set up the camera, now that's another weird thing. Whenever I set up a Zoom call or
Mm-hmm.
any video call, he would walk into the same room where I'm doing the call. Most of the times I do it outside in front of my bookshelf, so he can actually, and bookshelf is, we have designed our bookshelf for cats, so they can climb on it. It's like a
Ah.
staircase kind of a bookshelf. So he knows exactly where to sit on that bookshelf to be in the frame. Uh, Now in this room, because there is no bookshelf behind me in this axis,
Mm-hmm.
there is one on that axis, but lighting is really bad, so I set it up like this. But he's now sitting on the bookshelf, hoping that he's probably in the frame. He's not, but yeah, sorry. But but this kind of strange thing, only one of
Yeah.
our three cats does that. Uh, Another cat, including him, but there's another cat who likes diving into sunlight. So he believes that sunlight is liquid. So whenever there is sunlight,
Ah.
he will prepare, like, so at the edge of the shadow, he'll stand there and he will thoda sa he'll scratch the thing, the floor, and then he will dive and he'll kind of roll around in sunlight as if trying to wrap it around him. So these kind of things, you always kind of you know not just fascinated by them. I'm scientifically curious what exactly the cat is trying to do
Mm-hmm.
here. So there are lots of evolutionary ticks they have, which are, which then you understand why they are what a bundle of nervous energy,
Right.
because
Yeah.
of their size, that they are not too big, they are not too
Right.
small. So say smaller animals like rats and all or lizards or something in the jungle,
Uh-huh.
they have mostly they just have to hide,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And they are
Mm.
easy to, I mean, they, because of their size, they can hide easily.
Mm.
So they have to mostly take care of the prey, as in the prey they have to hunt and not
Yeah.
being hunted, because they are smaller in size, so they don't have to be that careful. Now cats are that size where they have to be aware of the prey they have to hunt, and being aware of being hunted also because
Being
of their
hunted.
size.
Yeah.
So they're always on their toes. They're
Yeah.
always on the lookout either for food or for their own safety. And that kind of strange mix of these two emotions, one
Mm.
happy and one fear kind of a
Mm.
thing, have given them this strange thing. That's why there are so many cat videos of, you put a cucumber on in front of them and they jump or something, because
Mm-hmm.
they associate it with a snake, sometimes.
Right.
So these kind of things are
Yeah.
very interesting to kind of decode, and we always feel
Yeah.
happy when we have decoded some one more small thing about our cats, and it's a lifelong discovery. So cats are not just curious themselves; they actually make us more curious beings. Just living with them. So that is, I think, one great thing I've discovered and learned and constantly learning.
I so agree with you. I mean, I remember having this discussion. I lost one of my cats last year. It was very sad. And, I was telling this friend who's also always owned cats. And, like, why do we do this to ourselves? Because it was not the first time that I had lost a cat. And I was like, why do we put ourselves through this heartache, because they are
Yeah.
very, they get out. And it's difficult to bring them back. Sometimes you get them back, sometimes you don't find them anymore, or in the worst case scenario, you find them dead. I mean, it
Yeah.
happens. And I was like, why do we put ourselves through this, like, this pain? And she was like, because once having lived with a cat, I mean, your life feels very empty after that, without a
Yeah.
cat around. I mean, it just feels really empty, and like there's this big hole missing in your life.
Yeah.
But then cats are the ultimate Saraswati, right? That they have each cat I think has taught us something.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
for me, I think because when I think of Jude and Baby Girl, I really thought at this stage in my life I've learned everything, but then they've taught me humility. They've taught me to live more like a Sufi living in Delhi,
Uh-huh.
like like when I keep on saying I call them Marie Kondo, is that they've realized that if anything I had vanity about or anything which
Yeah.
sparked joy in my life, they made sure that I, there's a very beautiful poem Barun had written about Billian, which my boy Arhan had. We made a video with the cats, right? Barun, would you like to quote some lines from it?
Uh, okay, I have written 3, 4 points, so I don't know
This
which
is the
one.
one,
I have three, four points on
Billian,
cat.
Arhan, what was it?
It was Tarak. Tarak.
Hark. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, but now I think, yeah, because I generally don't remember my own poems, I will have
No,
to
it's all
open
about,
my.
I
Why
think,
don't you, if
how
you want, you
they
can
go
look for
about
it.
breaking everything and
We,
they
yeah, let's go talk. You want to look for it right now? That will be great.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
go
So I'll
around.
switch off my camera and get the poem in a bit.
Yeah, sure, and
Yeah,
we'll come back to that.
I'm here
Yeah.
only. Okay.
Okay, we know. Or you can make Chena Poda sit there, maybe. Yeah, okay. Wagmai, hello.
I
So,
apologize for doing that. I didn't mean.
not at all, Anila. This is supposed to be a totally chill chat and, between friends. So, Wagmai, yes, you are
Yes.
70% cat, you claim.
Yeah. Yeah. I claim. Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So for somebody who, sort of says at the very beginning of your lovely essay, which is like a memoir and, of different places, different people, and again, like associations with cats, people whom you associate with cats. So
Yeah.
it seems like, for somebody who's not really a cat person, you pay a lot of attention to, people with cats, or you seem to be fascinated by them. So tell us a little bit about this whole relationship and this whole fascination with cats or with cat people.
Right. So that's the thing. So when Devapriya first kind of like reached out and said, "Hey, so this is happening. Would you like to write something?" I think if I remember right, my immediate thing was like, I have no idea about cats at all, and especially since I'm not, I don't like cats. Is what I started off thinking. It's something that I've said all my life, so it's something that I just kind of believed, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I sat around thinking of it, like, or the more I kind of thought about, just put like random thought, even before starting to just put any thoughts of about this essay on a
Mm-hmm.
paper, or just I think basically the first thing, I think I mentioned this in the essay, the first thing that made me say, all right, maybe I can do this, is the thought of Abhuri Chaya Devi Garu. So she's a Telugu writer. She passed away a few years ago, but she was a very well-known Telugu writer. She wrote a lot of short stories, and um, and she was very, very aware, and but she was also, when you meet her, she looked like anybody else that was in your family, right? So she didn't have this whole air. And she was always somebody who was always caring, was always very sweet, was always, there was a sense of, I don't want to use the word motherly or like grandmotherly, but that was the very, comforting air about her, like when you meet
Right.
her, right? So you feel comforted.
Right.
But then I realized that was my first encounter with somebody with cats. Um, she had a bunch of them around when it was very, very not common, especially in certain South Indian households of a certain class, of a certain sort of conservative upbringing. Of I wouldn't want to necessarily say class, but maybe also to a certain degree
Yeah.
that.
I mean, with all
Um,
the, the sort of muddy and things like that, right? I
yeah,
mean,
I think, yeah. So we never had pets at home. That's also something that I write about.
yeah.
We never had pets coming in terms of chilling with you at home. So I think seeing a cat like kind of just be around her, or the fact that she was around so many cats and had them around her was fascinating to me. And then the more I kind of noticed this in families like these, I saw that it was a certain sort of woman, usually, who had a cat, like as opposed to a dog, that really the family had. Um, so it started kind of, I mean, there was some sense of the dots kind of coming together, and
Right. Yeah.
it just
And
felt
that's
that way. That
when, yeah, and that's when you sort of, when Wangmai came back to me and she said, this is something that's emerging, and I was really excited. And
Yeah.
there was a lot of research done during the pandemic when no libraries were open, and she had to track down people and track down books. It was quite,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that was actually interesting because I was trying to get some books by Chaya Devi Garu written, translated into English. And the person, one of the sort of independent presses that published her was, it was, everything was shut at that point. This was early lockdown 2020. And
Right.
he somehow kind of accessed his sort of storage, and got a copy just sent to me so that I could just read it. It's one of the stories that I mentioned in it, called Bonsai Lives,
Right.
which she writes about, just women and how they're brought up, and how they're like kind of like a bonsai. They're brought up for a specific purpose in certain, certain ways. So it was exciting to do that sort of research when this idea emerged, really.
Right.
And therefore, I found that people who are more giving, giving themselves to others on a daily basis, whether it's in terms of taking care of them, or just providing for a household, or like or are kind of at odds with everything else around them, but they kind of still inhabit it, and in a very sort of full way,
Right.
don't really have time, or don't really have the energy to really take care of a dog. A dog is a lot
That's
of work,
true. It is.
so and I grew up with one, right? And it was all fun and games for me, but I don't think it was that amazing for my parents, because they had to do the the
Yeah.
vet, and all of that stuff. So yeah, so that's kind of like a theory I thought I could play with.
Yeah.
And I kind of asked Devapriya about this, and I ran the idea by her. And and in that sense, I am not a very participative, giving person. I like to keep to myself. I do to an extent, but after that, I'm just like, I feel like there's always a filter. I feel like I'm a little bit more detached than, than anyone else
Which is
who
why
I
you think you're
associate.
70% cat.
70% cat.
Yeah,
And the thing is,
yeah.
the moment there was this thing that this might develop into a theory, I was really, really, really
Yeah.
excited. Because, Shravanti, when you asked me before, the thing is, I had never put together an anthology before either, right? I had collaborated. I had done collaborative books, and there was a lot of learning curve, and they somehow came together. There's this instinctive quality that I feel works in books, right? When a book is
Right.
coming together, and that's the thing that, somehow, I don't know if that's cat-like, but that's how this book came together. So the people I
Yeah.
reached out to for essays or for short fiction, as in Aditi's case, I just told her, write a short story, and she didn't know
Hmm.
that she had this. I With Priya, I just told her that's the one I want. She'll
Right.
talk about Gundappa the cat, and because it's a very wicked sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
Then,
coming to that. Yes.
right, so when Wangmei said that it was probably going to be a theory, I said, okay, good, I like that. So somehow, it's like a puzzle. We were all
Right.
playing in the dark, but somehow all of it came together to be cat people, you know
Yeah. Yeah. You get
And
that
like, I
sense.
do want to add one thing though.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Go
No,
on.
so I got the copy sent to one of the people that I mentioned in the book, my friend, right, Shruti. Uh, whose brother brings in a cat and kind of like gives it to the mom, and the mom starts taking care
Right.
of the cat.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and she read it, and just like I think 2 weeks ago, she was like, "I think I can confirm this theory because you are very cat-like." And she's known me since I was like 13, so I'm assuming she knows a fair bit about me. But
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Right, right. No, that's a great theory. Yeah. I think we all have a certain percentage. Some people maybe have, yeah, like 70% I would say is quite high. Yeah. Coming to Priya's very short, I mean, I think yours is probably the shortest entry in the entire
Yeah.
collection. Yeah, and the most disturbing, and like the darkest story ever. So tell us a little bit, like, what is the story behind that story? So
Um,
just for the
it
others,
was
for the viewers, I mean, this is very cat food. The story is called Cat Food. It's a small graphic story, and certain unmentionable things happen in it. But please.
no, it was I had a small garden, and my mother's cat Cindy came to live with me, and she kind of took over my house, and she took over the garden, and it became her queendom. And the thing is,
Mm-hmm.
like, you become a cat slave. I think you all know what I'm talking
Hmm.
about.
Hmm. Hmm.
And she used to demand food. She used to eat 4 meals a day. I mean, it was the first time I was actually looking after anything.
Hmm.
And she started putting on a lot of weight. But I think when you really love something, I think it's a very primitive instinct to want to eat it. I mean, it's
Yeah,
you know
yes.
I mean,
Okay, now it makes sense. Absolutely.
yes. So, I used to just look at her like this ball of fur on my studio table, like just purring away, and completely content and fat. Like she doubled in size when she came to my home. And I would sometimes feel I want to swallow her whole. I mean, I think it's just
Yeah.
this very, very primitive instinct. But the thing is, also in this garden, there was this very large male cat called Gundappa, and he was like,
Mm-hmm.
I tend to name cats by their appearance. So Gundappa,
Mm-hmm.
like it's very South Indian, as
Yeah, Gundu,
a round,
big,
roly poly man,
roly poly.
that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And he was very nervous, and I had to literally seduce him with food, bit by bit by bit,
Hmm.
to befriend him. And then
Yeah.
slowly he allowed me to touch him. And after some time, he would come and sit beside me, which was like, it was really nice. It was so touching, to
Hmm.
create this bond between this very frightened stray cat and me.
Yeah.
And then this comic, I think it happened as a very spontaneous thing. I mean, like, I most of my work is very serious stuff as an editorial illustrator, but this was the first time I'd done a comic. So it was just these words, these lines which came into my mind, and it's all this rhyming thing. And
Right.
yeah, it was I don't know where this business of cooking the cat had you know. But I started writing it down, and like the drawings came about very spontaneously, and I did it on bits and pieces of paper, and then I colored it, and then I put it
Right.
together as a comic.
And
Right.
I just put it up on my blog, and I think like Devapriya saw it and she just fell in love
Right.
with it. And like
Yeah.
when she did Cat People, like suddenly out of the blue, she said like that has to come in the book. And it
Hmm.
was just so sweet. So that is how that story came about.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and the thing is
Shravanti,
like the undercurrent to the whole thing is like both the cat and I manipulate each other. Like we both get
Hmm.
from each other. Like the cat gets food from me, and I get
Hmm.
something else from the cat, which which I devour. So I
Yeah.
think that's how it is. So
Yeah, I mean, what you
that's what I
said
was trying
about
to get across. Yeah.
wanting to eat, I mean, like when we really love something, we clench our teeth, right? I mean, whether it's a baby or a cat, I have that sensation when I'm near my cat as well. Yeah, like,
I'm so glad you
yeah,
empathize with
I
that.
agree completely. I mean, it's like you're stopping yourself from actually eating that bean. Now it makes sense, absolutely. Okay, Varun is back. Oh, sorry, somebody was saying something before this?
yeah, I was
Shravanti,
just
there's also
reminded of
Arhan.
that.
Right,
Pangmai wanted to say something. Yeah.
No, it's
right.
just that that short, that Pixar short called Bao. Has any of you watched it? I don't know.
No, I haven't. No.
So
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
Varun.
I have. Yeah.
So isn't that kind of
I have
similar in
to.
in the yeah in the
Yes.
sense of wanting to eat the
Yeah.
person you
Yeah,
love and nurture and
Yeah.
care for?
right.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
There was
Very
that
good.
movie with the Churelka where the character says you're so delicious I can eat you up, right? What for?
Okay.
I keep telling the same thing to my cat. Chena Koda, I keep telling him मैं chocolate sauce डाल के खा जाऊंगा तेरे को and all
Oh,
that.
so all of you know
I
this feeling of
think
wanting to eat your cats.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we are totally
I guess
like,
that's what we do with children, na? We give them the names of jalebi and gulab
yeah,
jamun or
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah,
you call Chena Poda only. Chena Poda is in Odia,
Yeah,
one of my
yeah.
favorite sweets.
yeah,
So
very delicious too. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm
Arhan, I mean, like you've grown up around cats. Do you envy cats? Have you, I've always envied cats as well. Like, they're just such amazing lives, really. And so, have you ever thought that you wanted to be a cat yourself?
Honestly, like the idea of being a cat, like it'd be fun, right? Like it'd be fun, like to have such a wonderful life. But one, like again, like something that I really love about cats, just like the personality. Like of
Hmm.
course, every human does have a personality, but the personality of a cat is just something totally different. Like it's something that's so beautiful. Like a cat like could murder. There's that entire thing on the internet about my cat wants to murder me in my sleep and things. But yet
Hmm.
cats like are quite lovable. Like one of my cats, BB Gull, like he just comes for pets and things. So like cats, like they're the best of everything. Like they're so pristine. They're completely but but it just like there's no but actually. It's just completely flawless.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to be a cat?
I don't know. I'm used to being a human, so
Okay.
I don't know. I actually don't know.
I think
Okay.
one thing which is common with having Arhan and cats is that they really, like, I think motherhood taught me that to cut out all of the
Mm-hmm.
extras in your life, right? And to really
Mm-hmm.
sharpen, so Blade Runner my hand to sharpen your focus. And I think
Hmm.
cats do that also. That whatever is unnecessary in your life, um, I think there's somewhere in my book where I refer in the anthology I refer to it like I'm I'm surrounded. Like I think my generation, we are surrounded by people that we. Um, lately, I've been very irritated when people are sharing, कि ये मेरे grandparents के वक्त का ये गरारा है, for instance, or a pandan, or how we like actually
Mm-hmm.
raising it to a pornographic level. And for me, this
Right.
meant that there has been no generational trauma in your life, right? For instance, if you're in South Asia, all of us have gone, like certain generations have gone through acts of violence. So if you still hold on to your great grandparents' or grandparents' like carpets and jewelry, for
Yeah.
instance, this means it has been a very smooth ride for the past 80 years, right?
Yeah. Great privilege.
And I really thought, like, I know I really thought I was above all of this, but then when my cats, like, when they broke down this Atardaan, I think okay, there is this Atardaan which my grandparents had taken to Pakistan. Then from there, I've taken it to Bangladesh, Australia, to Thailand. Like I'm surrounded with carpets I had, like I'd grown up with in Rawalpindi, now and then Delhi. So maybe there was some kind of mera bhi ego tha. So when these cats slashed, scratched, burned through all of it, it made me realize that it was a great lesson mere liye, all of that ugliness.
Maya. They just got rid of all your Maya, right? One thing at a time. You're on mute.
Anita, you've gone on mute.
Not just this, but I really thought I was above all of this, right? I was really for my.
But it was a great lesson that you realized that you were still holding on to some of those things. And your cat, by destroying it, they Marie Kondoed the heck out of it, and then you realized that you could let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah, a small tip for anybody here, don't ever buy a bag with photos of. So I bought this beautiful bag which had this prints of fish on it, and within 2 days, my cats had scratched it to shreds. I think they thought they were real fish.
How many do you have now at home?
Right now, we just have one. Till very like late last year, we had two. I'm planning to get another one.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, they say this with dogs, that you have to, like, if you lose a dog, it's always better to get one quicker. I don't know. That
Yeah. Varun, are you ready with your poem?
Yes, I am. So I will recite the original, slightly complicated version. The version which got printed in the children magazine Cycle was the kind of an edited version. थोड़ा हिंदी में है कविता, बीच बीच में थोड़े अंग्रेजी शब्द हैं, और हिंदी में कुछ एक दो मुश्किल शब्द हैं, तो हम पहले ही बता देता हूँ. यथार्थ is reality. इसके अलावा आई थिंक खरामा एक उर्दू फ्रेज है which means gradually, slowly. इसके अलावा आई थिंक मोस्टली इट इज वाद विवाद इज डिबेट, जिरह इज क्वेश्चनिंग काइंड ऑफ क्या इंटेरोगेशन. तो इसके अलावा आई थिंक सब आसान है. बिल्लियों से आप नहीं कर सकते जिरह, गुस्सा, वाद विवाद या तर्क. जब वो तोड़ दें आपका प्रिय पौधा, कप, चश्मा या मिट्टी का घोड़ा. क्योंकि बिल्लियां भूल जाती हैं चीजें तोड़ के तुरंत, देखती हैं ऐसे हैरान जैसे थी कोई दिव्य शक्ति, एज इन सम डिवाइन पावर. क्योंकि भूल जाती हैं चीजें तोड़ के, देखती हैं ऐसे हैरान जैसे थी कोई दिव्य शक्ति या केओस थ्योरी की मुश्किल इक्वेशन जो गिरा गई इस प्रिय वस्तु को. वो वस्तु जो उनकी भी प्रिय थी टूटने से पहले और प्रिय है टूटने के बाद भी. बिल्लियां नहीं करती फर्क चीजों में टूटने के पहले और टूटने के बाद. क्वांटम और कॉस्मिक दोनों तरह देखती हैं एक साथ यथार्थ को. इसलिए बिल्लियों से आप नहीं कर सकते जिरह, गुस्सा, वाद विवाद या तर्क. जब वो तोड़ दें आपका प्रिय पौधा, कप, चश्मा या मिट्टी का घोड़ा, आप कर सकते हैं सिर्फ इंतजार कि जैसे भूल गई हैं वो इस हादसे को दिव्य, कॉस्मिक, क्वांटम और केओस के चलते, वैसे ही खरामा आप भी भूल जाएं. थैंक यू.
Yeah, that's so lovely. And I mean, the entire life philosophy of cats, I mean, I think it's brilliant. And I think there's so much we can learn from it. We don't have that much time left, but we can just go around a little bit. I mean, does anybody have any questions for each other or like, something?
Shrabonti, how do you get the political reference? कि एक politician की तरह में they also break their promises and the hope the way they've forgotten you can forget it too,
There
right?
you go. Yeah, there's another connection. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I have one question for Devapriya, which is, has, I mean, writing this book, or collecting these pieces, editing them and all, has has this book convinced you to get a cat, or has this book convinced you otherwise?
I think it's definitely, you know, pushed me towards getting a cat.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband and I are talking about it.
Ah, okay.
But the real thing, while doing this book, what I learned was, that instinctive quality that I was talking about before.
Mm-hmm.
That's some that the way the book came together, the order in which the things came, because see, all of you were writing without knowing what the others were writing, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I had only a very vague sense while commissioning what was going to come in. But
Mm-hmm.
all of it coming together, and the fact that the order now, it seems that it's exactly in this order that it was imagined, that seems to be, to me, the wonder of this project and this process, and therefore pushing me towards the flawlessness of Arhan's cat theory. Cats
Mm-hmm.
are flawless.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you
Okay.
convinced now then? Like for
We're
sure?
flawless because we can't. We don't always give all of ourselves. That's why we're flawless. And I say we
We.
because
It's become we now. I
yeah.
see. Right. Like anything else? Anybody want to? I wanted to like generally, have a chat about why we find, cats so fascinating. But I think we've covered a lot of that, during the discussion about the other stuff. But anything that anybody like a stray thought that you want to share right now about your cat or cats in general?
Anyone wants to say anything about the other's piece, and um, being surprised?
I was definitely surprised by Priya's little graphic because
Thank you.
one, I laughed out loud, and two, I totally associated with it as all of us agreed. So
Yeah.
that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So, okay, I think that sort of, we can wind up now. And thanks so much. This was so amazing. I feel like, this gave us all a chance to talk about cats, which we don't get to do enough. And we should do this again.
Yes.
And books, and books.
And
Yes.
books, of course.
Let's hope
Yes,
all
yes,
our
yes.
viewers will go and get cat
Yes.
people.
Cat food.
And okay, I have a piece of advice for Champaka. It's a lovely bookstore. It's such a, and really, like any of you who comes to Bangalore, please go and visit Champaka. It is really pretty. It's one of those loving, nurturing sort of indie bookstores. The only thing it lacks perhaps is a cat or two, and how perfect would that be?
Yeah, I think the bookstore in Jorbak has resident cats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Arhan's favorite bookstore in C Block Market had cats too. In fact,
And
it
there
Yeah.
was
only
a
ate cats.
shop. There is, I think, there's still that shop called Magazines on
Yeah,
Church
Bangalore
Street,
on Church Street.
On
Yeah.
Church Street, yeah,
which
Yeah.
yeah.
They
had
have three
19
cats.
cats at one
Yeah,
time.
yeah. More, yeah.
Hmm.
So here's a big hint to Champaka to sort of, you know, get
The
the
cats.
store cat.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so
Enjoy
much.
your weekend. Thanks so
Thank
much for
you.
joining us here. Thanks for this
Bye.
Thank
lovely
you.
chat.
This was fun.
Yeah.
And lovely meeting all of you. Thank you. And
Yes.